Leave anything for us? For us?
A good supply of body bags.
Welcome to the Movie Morgue, where we fill out toe tags for cinema's body bags. I'm Josh, your movie examiner, and today we're examining Seven, directed by David Fincher and released in 1995. Real quick, we got some test results back, and it still looks like about 90% of the people watching my videos are not subscribed to my channel. If you like the content I'm putting out there, please hit that subscribe button. You have no idea how much it helps. And hit that like button also. Seven is David Fincher's second feature film coming off of the disappointing Alien 3. He had such a terrible experience with that film that he's since disowned it. And due to studio interference, it just simply wasn't the film Fincher wanted to make.
It's amazing to me that Fox is the #1 studio in the country because they're all such a bunch of morons.
His career started in music videos, working with the likes of Madonna, George Michael, Michael Jackson, and even Justin Timberlake as of late. But boy, am I sure glad he decided to take another stab at it. Fincher is one of my all-time favorite directors and has given us some of the best movies over the last 30 years. Winning a BAFTA and an Emmy for Best Direction of The Social Network.
If you guys were the inventors of Facebook, you'd have invented Facebook.
And 3 Academy Award nominations, but he still hasn't taken home an Oscar. What the hell's up with that? The story was written by Andrew Kevin Walker. He penned the screenplay while working at Tower Records in New York City during what he called a depressing time of high crime and drug addiction in the late 80s. His story was dark and dirty, with a very bleak and disturbing ending. Walker wanted the audience to feel violated and exhausted after watching it.
The whole idea was to suck all the air out of the movie, to not let the audience have any satisfaction.
His script was sold to New Line Cinema, with Christmas Vacation director Jeremiah Chechik attached. However, the studio wanted the bleak ending changed. Walker did several rewrites, and the script was passed around Hollywood for a couple of months until the original draft ended up in the hands of Fincher.
Fincher had accidentally been sent my first draft. And so he said, "Oh, I'm interested in this."
He instantly signed on with a stipulation that the ending not be changed. And the film's stars, Brad Pitt and Morgan Freeman, signed on also with the stipulation that the ending remained the same. Labeled the feel-bad movie of 1995, Seven follows 2 detectives as they investigate a thread of grisly murders in which each victim is labeled as the embodiment of one of the 7 deadly sins.
There are 7 deadly sins, Captain. Gluttony, greed, sloth, lust, pride, wrath, and envy.
You kidding me?
You can expect 5 more of these.
There's Somerset, a tenured lieutenant who's on the brink of retirement and calloused from all his years on the job.
So many corpses roll away unrevenged.
And his new partner, Mills, proud young hotshot, determined to be a hero.
And you're gonna make a difference.
Damn right.
The 2 reluctantly work together, uncovering clues in hopes of catching the killer before he punishes his next victim for their sins.
That wouldn't be shocking.
And no witnesses of any kind.
A series of twists and turns lead them down a path of macabre discoveries.
He's 2 murders away from completing his masterpiece.
He's laughing at us.
You know, this isn't gonna have a happy ending.
Culminating in a 3rd act that make Mills and Somerset the final puzzle pieces of the killer's masterpiece.
You can't see the whole complete act yet.
I wouldn't want to miss it.
Oh, don't worry. You won't miss a thing.
Oh, what's in the box?
He didn't know.
Oh, God! Oh, God!
So how many people will die for their sins in Seven? Drop your guess in the comments below while I bag them and tag them.
I'll order up some body bags.
We open the movie to find Lieutenant Somerset preparing for your typical day at work in No Name City, USA. His day begins with one dead husband, and he was killed in a crime of passion.
Just look at all the passion on that wall.
He was actually played by writer Andrew Kevin Walker. Somerset is a nihilistic pessimist from all of his years on the force. He retires in 7 days, and his colleagues are happy to see him go.
We are all going to be real glad when we get rid of you, Somerset.
Probably because he's great at his job. A deleted scene shows him removing a piece of wallpaper at his new house, ready to leave the city behind for the country, and maybe start driving Miss Daisy.
Oh, Miss Daisy?
His day also includes breaking in a new partner.
And this is how I met Tyler Durden.
No, sorry, wrong David Fincher movie.
I'm Detective Mills.
Somerset questions the young detective and asks why he asked to be reassigned to this city with no name. Mills is a cocky young homicide detective, determined to getting bad guys off the streets.
I've worked homicide 5 years.
Not here.
I understand that.
The lieutenant says his resume doesn't mean shit here, and he better keep his mouth shut and his eyes and his ears open. That night, Somerset has some TikTok time in bed. Yeah, that's that OG TikTok right there. And dozes off to the soothing sounds of the city outside. The awesome opening titles begin, of which Fincher has many, and we watch our villain work on his scrapbooking. He cuts the skin from his fingertips and pours words on notebook pages, highlighting passages and developing photos, giving us a good look inside his mind. The sequence is set to a remix of Closer by 9 Inch Nails. While the film is scored by the great Howard Shore, who would work with Fincher again on The Game and Panic Room, this would be the beginning of a long-time collaboration between Fincher and Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross. In 2010, they composed their first ever score for The Social Network, which was unconventional for the rockers.
Let's just see what resonates with David. Do you like this kind of approach? Do you like these sounds? Should we be more this way? Should it be more up? Is it far too heavy?
But it paid off, winning the duo an Academy Award.
The Oscar goes to Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross, The Social Network.
Is this really happening?
And the duo have worked with Fincher ever since, scoring The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, Gone Girl, Mank, and The Killer. On Monday morning, we see Mills prepare for his workday, trying not to wake his wife Tracy. He picks one of his many cheesy ties, and before heading off to work, Gwyneth Paltrow gets some goop out of his eye and kisses him goodbye. Hey, that rhymes. Something tells me she can make a fortune off that stuff. The detectives are called to a crime scene where it's raining cats and dogs. Fincher decided to have it rain for the majority of the film just to add more mystery to the location, since it's sort of a blend of New York and Los Angeles, and Los Angeles doesn't get very much rain. Overall, it has a little bit more of a Gotham feel, if you ask me. A body was reported, and the officer on scene tells the detectives unless the guy can breathe spaghetti sauce, he's a DOA. They enter the house, which is in need of some heavy pest control.
Somebody phoned Guinness. I think we've got a record here.
And in the dining room, they find a man bound and forced to have more than he wanted of an all-you-can-eat spaghetti buffet.
It was in the script that you didn't see the things happen, and that just seemed to me more horrifying to have to sit and imagine what it was like if you were forced at gunpoint to eat as much spaghetti as possible. And we've all been there without the gun.
Mills is fast to call it a heart attack based on the victim's size until Somerset points out the obvious.
How about that?
Mills starts yapping about a past case until God commands him to be silent.
Multiples back there.
Could you please be quiet?
Mills finds a bucket under the table with a nice surprise.
Fucking vomit.
Mr. Clark tells his student to go help question the neighbors since he can't recite the school song. The coroner arrives and Dr. O'Neill confirms the victim is in fact deceased. And I'll get him a toe tag.
Thank you, Doctor.
Mills is a little butthurt about being put in timeout and gloats about the work he's done in the past.
You've seen my files, right? You've seen the things I've done.
Nope.
Ooh, I have. Let's see, there's Thelma and Louise.
Yes.
California.
Yeah.
True Romance.
No.
Floyd.
Yes.
Interview with the Vampire.
Perhaps, yes.
Legends of the Fall.
You are good.
And oh, the absolute classic, Cutting Class.
How much bigger where it really counts.
Hey, don't forget about Cool World, man. He tells the lieutenant he's done his time on Door to Doors. My badge says Detective 2, you know.
Just don't be jerking me off, that's all I ask. Don't jerk me off.
Nobody was trying to, Mills. But Somerset isn't concerned with his reputation and tells him to get over himself. At the morgue, Dr. Santiago explains that a series of events led to the victim dying of internal bleeding.
This man ate till he burst.
But eating was not the cause. Santiago is played by Reg E. Cathy, who would work on Fincher's Netflix series House of Cards. Somerset notices bruises on the victim's head and determines it could be from a gun being pressed against it. Mills agrees and is now convinced.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have ourselves a homicide.
Somerset reports to the captain that the victim was found bound and forced to eat until he passed out. Then the killer kicked him, and that's when he burst. He says this was all premeditated, and he'd like to be reassigned, stating that this cannot be his last assignment.
It's just gonna go on and on and on.
And advises this should not be Mills' first assignment. And Mills takes it like a pro.
Hey man, you know, I'm right here. You can say that shit to my face.
It's too soon for you.
The captain reassigns Mills and tells Somerset he's stuck cleaning up the fat man. On Taco Tuesday, there's some interesting headlines in the paper here. Possessed gerbils? What's next, giant man bats? A press conference begins regarding the death of a public official as Mills enters through the outdoor. He finds the crime scene and watches as the TV tells us defense attorney Elliot Gould was found murdered, and the district attorney says this investigation will be the definition of swift justice. No pressure there, Mills. You wanted to be a hero. We see greed written on the floor in blood next to a pile of books and a set of scales. And I'll go ahead and fill out Gould's toe tag now. And the killer left a strange clue for our detective to see. Gunnery Sergeant Hartman informs Somerset of Mills' new assignment.
What have we got here? A fucking comedian, private joker.
The captain, as he's named in the credits, is played by R. Lee Ermey, in a role that's quite subdued compared to a lot of the roles he's known for. He gives the lieutenant a little bit of grief for retiring.
You're not gonna be a cop anymore.
That's the whole idea.
Then leaves him some evidence and says the big guy was fed more than spaghetti. Somerset's curiosity kicks in, so he goes back to the all-you-can-eat buffet scene. The shards are from the linoleum floor in front of the refrigerator. He moves it out of the way to find gluttony written in grease on the wall with a love note attached. This is where, as we say, the plot thickens. The lieutenant gives El Capitan and Mills a Bible lesson about the 7 deadly sins and tells them these killings are related, and this is just the beginning.
I can't get involved in this.
And R. Lee Ermey injects some comedy into the situation.
Hold on. That's not even my desk.
That's one of my favorite lines of the movie. And hands the case over to Mills.
I'm all over it.
But he can't let sleeping dogs lie, so he goes to the library after hours, where Sam the bus driver from Speed moonlights as a security guard. He does some light reading on Canterbury Tales and Divine Comedy. Maybe he's working on his stand-up routine. While Mills is at home combing over crime scene photos and having a PBR. The lieutenant leaves Mills some pointers on his desk, but the rookie decides to go with Cliff Notes instead. On Wednesday, Mills moves into his new office and gets a call from his wife. And guess who's coming to dinner?
Well, in that case, I'd be delighted.
Tracy greets the boys and gets them on a first-name basis.
William, I'd like you to meet David. David, this is good.
All right.
While David goes and plays with his puppy dogs. Oh, your little puppy dogs. That night, they dine and dabble in each other's business a little bit.
So how long have you lived here?
Too long.
William asks how she likes living here, and it's a bit complicated.
I believe he talks his wife into it, though she doesn't want to go, but she does it for him. It's a bit of a selfish move. She's very unhappy there.
The subway comes by and shakes things up a bit, a feature their realtor forgot to mention when they moved in, giving us a very brief moment of vulnerability from our characters.
All right, laugh it up.
The boys do some after-dinner deliberating about the case. Mills tells the lieutenant that Gould was bound and forced to carve off pieces of his own flesh, leading to him bleeding out.
He's preaching.
Somerset states the murders are a forced attrition, where you renounce your sins, but not because you love God.
Or like because someone's sticking a fucking gun in your face.
The 2 victims seem to be unrelated, no fingerprints were found at either scene, and no witnesses. Somerset tells Mills they need to be on the lookout for any one thing, large or small, that jumps out at them, and Mills remembers the picture of Gould's wife.
That's the one thing.
They visit Gould's widow to see if she can point them in any kind of direction, and she tells them one of the paintings in his office is upside down. Back at the attorney's office, they finally find some fingerprints, and a message from the killer.
Call the print lab.
Honestly, have you ever seen anything like this?
No.
As they wait for a print match, Mills thinks it's their perp reaching out for help,
My dog made me do it. Jodie Foster told me to do it.
while Somerset tells him it doesn't fit this guy's MO. While they're waiting, the lieutenant tells the rookie not to get too excited. They're just collecting evidence and putting it in piles.
On the off chance it will ever be needed in the courtroom.
But his negativity just puts Mills to sleep. Thursday rolls around and we have a winner.
Got a winner.
Fingerprints belong to one Theodore Victor Allen, a sex offender who was acquitted by, you guessed it, Elliot Gould. The captain readies the team for a raid on his apartment, but something still isn't sitting right with Somerset.
Our killer seems to have more purpose.
They converge on the apartment, which was an actual location that was riddled with used condoms and crack pipes. As they enter the residence, it's decorated with air fresheners, and they find Victor Allen bound and lifeless in bed, his hand having been severed, with wall art consisting of the word sloth. Mills finds a gift box with photos of the victim dating back 1 year exactly.
It's dated exactly 1 year ago today.
When he was much more attractive. It's also full of keepsakes, like jars of hair, fingernails, urine, and feces. John C. McGinley leans over to whisper sweet nothings in Victor's ear.
What would you say you do here?
Holy shit! We got a live one here, guys. Now that's how you do a jump scare, folks. While Mills blows off some steam in the stairwell, a paparazzi snaps some pictures of him. And that pisses Mills off.
They piss me off.
See? At the hospital, a doctor informs the detectives that Victor is a shell of a man and has a smorgasbord of drugs in his system, but a lot of care was taken in keeping him alive all this time. And they're not going to have any luck getting any information out of him since he chewed his tongue off a long time ago.
He's experienced about as much pain and suffering as anyone I've encountered, give or take. And he still has hell to look forward to.
While technically he is still alive, I'm going to give him a toe tag based off what the doctor tells the detectives.
Detective, he'd die of shock right now if you were to shine a flashlight in his eyes.
Friday morning, Somerset meets Tracy for breakfast. She called him the night before, stating she needed someone to talk to, and he's the only person she knows in this godforsaken city.
I hate this city.
She informs him over pancakes and coffee that she's pregnant and hasn't told David yet. Somerset's uncomfortable with the conversation, to say the least, but he gives her a peek into his past, telling her he had a relationship once and they got pregnant, but he couldn't fathom bringing a life into this hellhole. He tells her he knows he made the right decision to abort the pregnancy, but there's not a day that goes by he wishes he wouldn't have made a different choice, and he offers Tracy some insight on her situation.
You spoil that kid every chance you get.
At the precinct, the detectives sit and stare at the scoreboard. Killer 3, Detective 0. Mills has ants in his pants, wanting to be out there looking for their man, but Somerset reminds him, this is the job. Mills struggles with the idea that the lunatic is out there doing it again while they just sit here and rot. Somerset says don't dismiss him as a lunatic.
This guy's methodical, exacting, and worst of all, patient.
But Mills is like, this guy's no Jedi.
Just because the fucker's got a library card doesn't make him Yoda.
And that was an ad-lib by Brad. And I said to Fincher, really, Yoda? And he was like, yeah, think about it. That's the smartest person Mills knows. I was like, okay.
But Mills mentioning the library gives Somerset $1 million idea, and he proposes a field trip. They swing by the library to grab a list of books and then meet Bobby from Sons of Anarchy for lunch. This is character actor Mark Boone Jr., with a filmography of over 65 films, working with the likes of John Carpenter and Christopher Nolan. Somerset slips him the list and some cash, and he takes his pizza to go.
Yeah, help yourself.
Mills isn't too crazy about the transaction that just happened, but Red here says he's been able to locate certain information from time to time by paying his buddy in the FBI. He breaks the first rule of Fight Club and tells him that certain books are flagged and entered into the FBI's database.
Wait, how is this legal?
Your guess is as good as mine. Watch what you're reading from the library, kids. They come across a name that sparks Somerset's curiosity, a John Doe, and they decide to pay him a visit. Mills, again, isn't thrilled with the idea, but they knock on the door. Then Somerset notices a man in the hall looking for his keys. Oh no, where did I put them? Take cover! The shooter runs and Mills goes in hot pursuit through the maze of a building, ducking shots left and right as John Doe cuts through apartments and makes his way out of a window. Brad Pitt insisted on doing his own stunts for the chase, and while jumping on one of the wet cars, slipped and his hand was cut on some car glass.
I was trying to be Joe's stunt guy, and I was running across these cars in the rain like an idiot, and I slipped and went through one of the windows. And, I cut my fingers. You heal.
And it just so happens that the character was supposed to be injured in the script. Mills follows Doe into an alleyway and takes cover in front of a garbage truck. But Doe says, batter up! Mill loses his gun, and Doe puts his to Mill's temple. You fool! Do you realize what you've done? But Somerset calls out for Mills, and Doe flees instead of assassinating Jesse James. The hotshot's ready to bust the door in, but Somerset reminds him that, like Dante,
I'm not even supposed to be here today.
And they have to have a warrant.
The fucking guy will walk. Now, is that what you want?
But Mills is like, fuck that noise.
No point in arguing anymore.
So Mills pays a woman to corroborate their story. And now, a tour of serial killer John Doe's apartment. He's a religious zealot whose hobbies include woodworking, Bible studies, and collecting vintage aspirin bottles. His decor is what I would call serial killer chic, consisting of trophies from his victims. They're quite the conversation starter with guests. Hey, it's Victor's hand. And is that a pommel horse? He journals every day, judging from the size of his collection. He's also a part-time photographer and has been renovating his spare bedroom into a darkroom. And Mills makes a shocking discovery when he checks the bathtub.
Somerset!
John Doe was the paparazzi at the Sloth crime scene.
If you had him and we let him go.
They get a rough sketch of Doe and find his life savings. But you know what they can't find? Fingerprints. There's not one in the entire apartment.
You're right, I don't believe you. Keep looking.
Somerset reads some of John's diary entries to Mills.
What sick, ridiculous puppets we are, and what a gross little stage we dance on. Oh wait, there's a lot more.
And says they could be reading this shit for days. Then the detectives get a phone call. John just gave him a ring to show his admiration for the detectives and apologizes for hurting one of them. Oh yeah, and he'll be moving up his schedule since they fucked up his master plan. And hangs up before he ruins the surprise. While going through all this evidence, they identified 3 of the previous victims in Doe's photo album. But one picture is an unknown. With the picture is a receipt from Wild Bill's leather shop. So on Saturday, Joe Black and Lucius Fox visit Wild Bill's. Ah, so that must be where Fox gets Batman suits made. Wild Bill informs the detectives, you just missed him. He picked up his custom bat suit last night. Then shows him a picture of the item, which seems to disturb the detectives.
You made this for him?
Oftentimes I charged him, actually.
And they get a call stating that the mysterious blonde has been found. They enter a massage parlor, and one of the best of many great decisions made in the storytelling in Seven is what they choose to show and what they choose to leave to your imagination. In the case of the lust victim, we only see the body from a distance, with no details, and a man that looks quite upset wearing an apparatus with a sheet draped over him. Fincher forces the viewer to imagine what happened to this girl and what this scene could look like. It sort of puts a mirror up to the viewer and says, this image is only as sick as you make it out to be there, buddy. More on that later. Somerset interrogates the crazed victim, played by Leland Orser. You've probably seen him in the background of at least one movie in your life. His performance here is one of the most memorable and disturbing.
Oh God, he had a gun in my mouth.
Rumor has it that Orser didn't sleep for days before shooting and would make himself hyperventilate as part of the performance. The massage parlor owner is interviewed by Louis the Vampire. He's played by Michael Massey, who I instantly recognize as Fun Boy in The Crow. He's also in David Lynch's Lost Highway.
The fucking gun was in my throat. Fuck.
The detectives grab a drink after work, and Somerset gives Mills some foreshadowing.
You know, this isn't gonna have a happy ending.
That's all right. Mills said he wasn't into that kind of thing anyway.
Just don't be jerking me off, that's all I ask. Don't jerk me off.
Stating John Doe would have to be the devil himself to live up to their expectations. But he's just a man. But Lieutenant Aldo Rain isn't buying into his negative attitude. He wants his scalp, and he says thanks, but no thanks for the advice.
We ever dared you.
He goes home to have a cuddle with his wife for a bit, while Somerset goes home and says fuck TikTok, and throws his switchblade at a dartboard like Azim the swordsman killing the Wicked Witch of Nottingham.
I have fulfilled my vow, Sadiq.
Sunday rolls around, and 911 gets a call from John Doe singing his favorite Britney Spears tune. The detectives arrive on the scene to find a woman with pills glued to one hand and a phone glued to the other. And John Doe cut off her nose and then bandaged her up.
Despite her face.
And we toe tagged the Pride victim, Rachel Shade. I saw her name on that pill bottle glued to her hand. At the precinct, Somerset tells Mills that he's going to postpone his retirement until they find Doe. Well, good news! Kaiser Soze just got out of his taxi and walked through the door, covered in blood.
Detective!
You're looking for me.
Hey!
David Gale lays down slowly as they restrain him, and he knows his rights.
I'd like to speak to my lawyer, please.
He has himself a cup of tea and speaks with his lawyer while the captain tells the boys that Doe cuts off his own fingertips to avoid leaving prints and is extremely smart, independently wealthy, and totally insane in the membrane. But it doesn't make any sense to the dicks. Mills says there's no way he would just turn himself in, and Somerset is like, for the first time we actually agree on something. He wouldn't just stop. Doe's attorney informs them that there are 2 more victims hidden away, and he's agreed to take them to their location and sign a full confession. But there's a catch.
Something stinks.
It must be Mills and Somerset who take him to the victims. He then blackmails them by stating if Mills and Somerset don't agree, he'll plea insanity across the board, which would most likely acquit him of the crimes.
If, in fact, there are 2 more dead.
The captain says it's their call.
Let's finish it.
Mills and Somerset have a genuine moment of laughter while gearing up to escort Lex Luthor. Mills says his wife will be happy to have him home, then has a moment of hesitation before walking away. Their road trip begins, and a chopper follows while the guys get to know each other on the road. Somerset goes for the subtle approach.
Who are you, John? Who are you really?
John states who he is means absolutely nothing, and that he's been chosen to do the good Lord's work.
But I did not choose. I was chosen.
I have been chosen.
If you were chosen by a higher power, it seems strange to me that you would get such enjoyment out of it.
Nothing wrong with a man taking pleasure in his work.
Mills finally strikes a nerve when he says that the people he killed were innocent.
Innocent? Is that supposed to be funny?
Doe expresses his distaste for all of his victims, and that the world has turned a blind eye to the sins committed every day.
Only in a world this shitty could you even try to say these were innocent people and keep a straight face.
But not anymore. He's setting the example.
And what I've done is gonna be puzzled over forever.
Forever and ever and ever.
And he tells Mills, "You're gonna give me a thank you because you're gonna be remembered after today." He reminds the detectives that he's only here because he chose to be. And the only reason Mills is alive is because Doe spared him. And John can't contain his excitement for the surprise he has waiting for them.
I can't wait for you to see. I really can't. It's really going to be something.
Doe leads them down a road blocked by high-tension towers, preventing the chopper from getting too close to them. They arrive to find a dead dog.
Dead dog.
I didn't do that.
Because that would have been a step too far. They follow him to the middle of a field until a van is spotted coming down the dirt road. Somerset runs to the car, leaving Mills and Doe to have a little one-on-one time.
There he goes.
A warning shot stops the delivery truck, and the driver says a guy paid him extra to deliver a package to David Mills at this location. While the lieutenant deliberates, John expresses his admiration for Mills.
When I said I admired you, I meant what I said.
Hi, I'm Detective Somerset, and today we're going to be doing an unboxing from serial killer John Doe. Let's see what's inside. Well, it isn't a bomb. Is it another gift box of hair, urine, and feces? Dude, what's in the box? Hey, wait, you forgot to... Where are you going? You forgot to show us what's in the box. The choice not to show us what's in the box is what has haunted me for years, ever since I saw this movie back in the 90s. John finally says something that gets Mills' attention.
I visited your home this morning. And your pretty wife.
What'd you fucking say?
They drive home the idea of not showing the murders, and only the aftermath.
I tried to play husband.
But for this reveal, they don't even give us the finality of showing us John's work.
It didn't work out.
We again are left to imagine it for ourselves.
So, I took a souvenir.
And the fact that everyone fought to keep this ending untouched is a testament to how great of a reveal this is.
Her pretty head.
Copelson was saying at the time, look, we're never, ever going to make a movie with a head in a box. It's never going to happen.
Somerset tells the chopper to stay away and that John Doe has the upper hand here. He arrives to Brad Pitt giving us one of the most infamous movie quotes ever spoken.
What was in the box?
People still come up to me and yell, "What's in the box?" I gotta go.
No, what's in the box?
Doe tells him that he admires his perfect life, making his sin the sin of envy. And if David kills him, he completes Doe's masterpiece.
If you kill him, he will win.
And becomes the sin of wrath.
Become wrath.
Left to live out a fate worse than death. The situation is only made worse when John reveals that Tracy begged for her life and the life of the baby inside her. A confused Mills stares as John gleefully realizes.
He didn't know.
And Mills can't believe his ears. But at this point, not even the voice of God can command Mills to put his gun away.
Give me the gun, David.
The rookie cop realizes his life has been changed forever, and a flash of Tracy appears on screen, signifying his choice to give John Doe a bullet to the head. Completing John Doe's Mona Lisa, his Sistine Chapel, his Mount Rushmore. As gut-wrenching as this climax is, it is perfect.
And thank God people like Fincher and Brad and Morgan fought for the ending that remained.
David Mills is arrested for the murder of John Doe, and Somerset tells the captain he'll be around if Mills needs anything. And the film closes with a quote from Hemingway.
The world is a fine place and worth fighting for. I agree with the second part.
As credits roll. So how many sinners win in body bags in 7? Let's get out the blackboard and get to the body count. While I would have loved to have counted 7 bodies in 7, I have a total of 8 since I decided to count the sloth victim. I can only positively identify 5 of the victims, which means we had 3 John/Jane Does. Or 4 and 4. I don't know, because John Doe's name is John Doe. You know what I mean. But with a runtime of 125 minutes, that means we dispatched the meat wagon every 15.6 minutes. And even though it was dead on arrival, I'm still gonna put the dead dog in the pet cemetery. Poor pooch. I have to give the toe tag for best cause of death to Tracy Mills. This is by far one of the most shocking deaths to ever be put on celluloid. And the fact that it's the seemingly good-hearted Tracy just makes it even more powerful. And I'll give an honorable mention toe tag to the lust victim. Her death was so bad they couldn't even show it to us. What was your favorite cause of death? Let me know in the comments below. And that wraps up my examination of 7. Early test screenings for 7 were divisive and left a couple of audience goers quite offended.
Dude, I'm standing in the back of the theater. I think it was 3 women combined. One of them says to the other one, the people who made that movie should be killed. I don't know what the fuck they thought they were gonna see, but they couldn't have been more offended.
The film hit theaters on September 22nd, 1995 at number 1, beating out Paul Verhoeven's Showgirls. And fittingly was the 7th highest grossing movie of the year. It opened to mostly positive reviews, while the negatives compared it to Silence of the Lambs and The Usual Suspects, claiming 7 lacked the intelligence of those films, calling it a silly piece of pulp. Morgan Freeman's performance was praised, while Brad Pitt's received mixed opinions, with some critics saying it was more than Pitt could handle at the time.
That hurts my feelings.
I personally think every performance in this movie is stellar. And the fact that I can't stand Mills from the moment he appears on screen,
It would be great for me if we didn't start out kicking each other in the ball.
just shows Brad Pitt's range. I mean, look at this handsome devil. What's to dislike here? I can't give enough praise to the filmmakers for the aesthetic, the mystery, and even though some people say this movie is gratuitous, I find it to be quite reserved with what it chooses to show and what it chooses to hide. 7 is a movie that left an imprint on my brain from the first viewing, and it only gets better with subsequent rewatches. A script for a sequel was written, which would have seen Somerset develop psychic powers. But Fincher was like, get that shit out of here. And it eventually became the movie Solace, starring Anthony Hopkins, Colin Farrell, and Jeffrey Dean Morgan. Maybe I'll take a look at it sometime. I'll be back next time to examine Drive, starring Ryan Gosling and Carey Mulligan, directed by Nicholas Winding Refn. I've been Josh, your movie examiner. Thanks for liking, commenting, and subscribing. And make sure you hit the notification bell so you can join me next time I fill out toe tags in Cinema's body bags. Till then, enjoy being alive.